It's the radio guy, Dr. Mike Prince. Welcome to another episode here from the Open Mic Broadcast Network. Of course, we have a mission. That's to try to give you some news that you could use. Today will be no exception to that rule. You can follow me on Twitter at The Mike Prince Show. The YouTube channel is the Open Mic Broadcast Network. Our website is obnradio.com. We have the 24-hour stream working for you. And just in case you have one of those smart devices, all you have to do is say, hey, play the latest episode of the Mike Prince Show. And just like that, you'll have everything that you need. With all that being established, let us jump into this weekend's edition of The Zone. And with all that being said and established, man, what a week it has been, in particular on the big boy side of the fence. If you had not heard, ESPN has laid off another big round of big-time announcers and broadcasters trying to adjust their overspending on these college conferences and TV coverage, this, that, and the other. So now they got to try to stop the bleeding as much as possible. And as a result, jobs are being lost and things are just going haywire over at the Big Boy Network. Now, we know that time brings about a change in everything. And ESPN is just like Little Joe from Kokomo. You know, people have to watch their budgets. They have to make sure. But in this particular case, it's almost become to the point to where it's self-induced suffering that's going on. Yes, I understand competition is a beast. And sometimes in the heat of competition, we'll do things out of character. We'll spend more than what we probably should have spent in order to secure certain items and properties as a broadcasting entity. But when you look at this overall big picture with everything that has gone within the last 10 years, just as media sports coverage, it has gotten completely out of control. And as a result, we have what we have. Now, when this is happening, it could, on the surface, seem to be the gloom and doom in the very end. But oh so much, if you know like I know, this is really the beginning of a beautiful, and I do mean beautiful, opportunity. Yes, unfortunately, a lot of people have lost their job security. But with so much to be covered, with so few who are doing this on a level of consistency, these guys can actually, and it wouldn't surprise me, come together and create an entirely new network to bring forth the coverage. Now, of course, when we think about these big entities, we think about the ESPNs, the Fox Sports Network, the CBS Network, the NBC Network, but there are so many other entities that are available. Now, you might not be on the largest platform in the world, but there is a platform and a way for you to be seen, heard, and, quite honestly, paid. And that's what's happening right now. I've been monitoring for years, and I've been saying it. People look at me like I'm crazy, and we're seeing the proof in the pudding every day. There is a surge of returning to local coverage. And let me specify even more. In radio, there is a big movement of returning back to local broadcasting. You know why? Because many people, many companies have abandoned local broadcasting, which has made it plentiful for little folk like us here at the Open Mic Broadcast Network. Guys are so worried about being discovered or becoming superstars that all of these stories, all of these games, all of these moments of victory are just laying by the wayside. So we say keep your eyes open and your ears to the ground, because in the midst of all of this setback, there will be some new birth and some new growth coming from a microphone near you real soon. So we hate to hear that people have lost what they lost, but there's so much to gain at such a time as this. And speaking of gaining, we've heard about volleyball being moved to the linear platform. And that's another thing. We digital, and video on demand and this, that, and the other. But the big moves are being made back toward linear/local broadcast coverage. Don't be surprised if a company like the CW, now they laugh at the CW, but when the company like the CW finally figure out the road and direction they want to head in, they get their feet wet in this local coverage. You're seeing it in the NBA with teams offering up, getting away from the sports region networks. Those region networks have collapsed. Why? Because they're trying to keep up with the cable entities and even some of the streaming entities right now, and they've been overpaying. And that's just not the reality. The reality is going to come when people come to the stadiums, when people come to the arenas, when people make not only their seat purchase, but food purchases and souvenir purchases and anything like that. There are so many ways that money is being created and generated in athletics that we've become tunnel vision and only seeing it as a TV deal. What good is it to sign these mega deals and at the end of the day you can't be compensated because they don't have the money to give you? So why not go back to the drawing board, figure this thing out, and let's not let greed take over. I know I'm sound like I'm talking back in the 80s, the 70s, but it is a time and a season for everything. And we know that it's about rooting for your team. In my case in baseball, the St. Louis Cardinals are struggling in a massive way. But I can weather the storm because of the many years of consistency. And it's not considered a large market in St. Louis, but it's a market of credibility. It's a market of noteworthiness where people still want quality teams. They want quality coverage. And goes back to my original statement. There are so many other colleges that are out there. There are so many other semi-pro teams that are out there. There are so many other high school teams that are out there that there is enough room at the table for everyone. But it has to be something that you see and create the value in. And hopefully they'll weather the storms and get ready to see just how much is in front of them. Because as a broadcaster myself, a content creator myself, you can only go over the pro angle so much. There's only so many different ways you can cover the NFL. There's so many different ways you can cover MLB, even NHL. You know, we'll talk about that in a little bit. But there are so many different opportunities other than those. And the people will value what you're bringing to the table. So if any young broadcaster is listening to me on today, don't get lost in the weeds trying to do what you see everyone else doing. Dare to be different, dare to be creative, and dare to do things on a level that no one is even thinking of right now. And as I mentioned in my NHL briefing this past week, the Nashville hockey team got together with Tennessee State, and they are going to offer an opportunity for Tennessee State to break into the world of ice hockey. As we mentioned and broke down this past week, it will be a club sport, and that is fine. But some things that popped up immediately after I kind of looked this thing over and just said, man, it sounds cool, but what the challenges that will lie ahead. And the first thing that jumped out was facilities. Where are you going to practice? Where are you going to play your games? And unless you have the NHL sponsoring this thing, this will be one of those, unfortunately, situations that fade into the sunset after the interest has worn down. So however long the NHL has said they're going to invest, 2-5 years, whatever the case may be, once that is over with, this will probably be the last that you hear of it. And unless you have the NHL teams, and there's 30 teams, I believe, in the NHL, 30 or 32, I'm losing count right now. But if each one of them adopted an HBCU program, but still the challenge is going to be practice facilities, game facilities. I guess you could play the games where you practice. But in the case of Prairie View, Texas Southern, I'm just going to use them hypothetically because I am in Texas. The closest ice rink that I can think of right off the top of my head would be the Galleria. Now, not that big of a challenge for Texas Southern to get there for practice and games, but Prairie View? I don't think so. Now, are you going to build a facility for an ice rink? Well, you could technically build a multi-purpose building and convert it when it's time, but we're talking about millions of dollars to accomplish this, and I just can't see it right now. I would love it. Like I mentioned, I enjoy hockey. I think hockey is a very fascinating game, and if you ever get a chance, you do yourself much more justice by viewing a hockey game in person. It is absolutely nothing like it. So where and how will the funding, facilities, let alone the interest come to take this thing a little bit further down the road? Now, you could have the case where you have an isolated incident such as the Tennessee State and maybe a couple of other schools that are closer to that northern regional line that could be adopted, and you have a couple of independent programs. If not, maybe 6 that could create a little HBCU ice hockey conference where they could possibly partake in the Frozen Four opportunity in the NCAA level. There are so many avenues that this can be broken down in, and we'll just have to play it by ear and see what the ultimate end is going to be. But we'll keep you posted on the development of the Ice Hockey Challenge. In other NCAA news, it has been reported that football attendance has been down for the last 7 consecutive years, and trying to pinpoint exactly what is going on, why it's happening. And we kind of scratched the surface this past week, talked about people still challenged with COVID, the opportunity to watch the game from the comfort of your home, and then the FCS programs jumping up to FBS is why the people are not coming to the games. And when you look at this, those are some contributing factors, and I like to think of them somewhat as excuses, but I will have to consider and take them in for what it's worth. When you have an opportunity to really, really participate in the well-being of your said institution that you chose to attend as a student, and you don't take advantage of it, is that something that you can solely blame on the students? Now, the students have their part of this matter. And when you look at it, if you're not engaged in high school, what makes you think all of a sudden you're going to be engaged in college? And on the administrative side, from the collegiate standpoint, you can't assume that just because you are drafting the funds from the student assessment fees, they are at liberty and known that they can walk and enter to the games at any given time, you still have to market your potential fan base. You still have to engage them to want to be a part of the game. And it goes back to basic marketing 101. You have to get the people engaged and interested in coming to be a part. I don't know, maybe this is just an idea. Maybe you could do a lotto ticket giveaway. And when I say a lotto ticket, a scratch off. If you buy, let's say, $7,000 worth of tickets, lotto tickets I'm talking, and the first 7,000 students, they get into the game, you get a free lotto ticket. Now, that might sound crazy, but just hear me out. Okay, it's $1 per ticket. At least I think it's $1 per ticket still. You spend $7,000, quote unquote, on marketing. You give these out. It's one or two things that's going to happen. Actually, one or three things that's going to happen. A, they show up, if for nothing else but to get the ticket. Okay? B, they become a little bit more financially secure with a winning ticket. Or C, they come, don't win anything, but they find out that they had a good time at the game. So what's wrong if we have 4, 5 home games? Let's just say 4 because of the State Fair Classic, and I'm speaking in reference of Prairie View. So if you guarantee 7,000 tickets, which is basically splitting the seating capacity in half, if you want to get technical, 7,500 tickets, but you give 7,000 tickets to the student base just for showing up. The old saying about lotto, you got to be in it to win it, right? Don't you think that could give you a boost in attendance? Just something to think about, something a little creative and outside the box. Could you do the same for basketball? Of course you could. Actually, you could do the same for any other. And I'm thinking about baseball right now. Just hear me out. You do this in baseball, and at the 7th inning, okay, ladies and gentlemen, everyone pull out your tickets, and you just kind of set up some rules and some guidelines. You cannot scratch your ticket off until the 7th inning in baseball. I don't think everybody would follow that rule, but that'd be pretty cool because at the 7th inning stretch, you got everything going, the people are buzzing. Okay, it's time for you to get your lotto tickets out and scratch them puppies off. And if everybody that's a winner, of course the excitement's going, I won, even if it's $50. Could you imagine the excitement that comes from that? Could you imagine doing the scratch off at halftime of a football or basketball game? You're keeping the engagement of people involved. It's not that great of an investment as far as marketing goes. And that is something that will actually potentially be something big. Have to run it up the flagpole and let's see exactly how that goes. You guys let me know what you think about that concept, that idea. You can do it one or two ways. You can always call our 24-hour message line at 720-721-1558. Or you can hit me up on a message on Twitter at The Mike Prince Show. We also talked this week about the addition of Omar Johnson and John Hernandez, along with Jose Vasquez, to be on the United States baseball coaching staff. And we talked about the credibility that brings to the conference and how proud I am as a former baseball player to see these guys get the opportunity. We even poked a little bit about how they're all Eastern Division coaches that are leading the way, and is the East that far ahead. But in order to continue to mold and scope that image of baseball throughout the Southwestern Athletic Conference and for HBCU baseball in whole, we've got to continue to work on the scheduling. That is so critical. It's so important that we build a quality schedule that will, A, draw players to want to come and compete with you and for you at that level. Because when they look at the rosters and they look at these schedules, these kids are looking at who their potential opponents are going to be, because they feel like, hey, I'm on that level, I can compete with these guys. And if you're not measuring up and they're not playing teams that they feel that they're going to be challenged on, you're going to get some of these guys move on down the road. And you have to look at it for the big picture. You get these schedules right, and you make sure that you got the very best competitive schedule that you can put together. Do you play the subpar programs? Not in all cases. You know, I know baseball is one of those sports that in some cases, regardless of your platform, it doesn't really matter, because the skill set is the skill set. It's not like in football nor in basketball. The size and strength can really be overbearing for teams on the lower divisions. But you have to set yourself up with guys who understand baseball. Now, they might not be the 5'2", not even 3'2" ball player, but they understand baseball. What they don't make up in natural size or strength, they have the baseball IQ to put things together. They have the baseball IQ to make things happen and execute on the diamond. So we're looking forward, and we're still pushing that envelope that these programs get to that next level, that these programs, when they walk to these conventions, they got guys chasing them down. Hey, man, I would love to schedule a 3-game set with you guys. Here are the dates that we have available. And it's all about time, and it's all about getting things lined up and constantly keeping that head on a swivel. Now, there were a couple of baseball coaches back in the day. To me, they were a little bit ahead of the game. Of course, the budgets were challenged. And I'm talking about these were some coaches on D1, HBCU, and some FCS programs that didn't have the budget for recruiting, but they had to compete with the big boys, because all's fair in love and war, right? And so these guys would go and they would be on the internet scanning for hours and stat checking and doing all these formulas and how this person could potentially work out. And mind you, not necessarily having a bunch of film to study on these guys, because one thing that I'm not a big fan of is that you get these, what I call batting cage kings. These guys go in there and they can rip the cover off the ball on film while in the batting cage. Well, after a while, you get the rhythm and the timing. You can time and look pretty good swinging the bat, because batting practice is just that. It's batting practice. It's to build confidence, not destroy. But you don't get a chance to see these guys in real-time play. But anyway, I kind of digress off of that. But I don't want to just look at your assembled footage of you doing everything right. You know, I want to see how you rebound after giving up a grand slam. I want to see how you recover after making an error. I want to see how you respond after striking out with bases loaded. Those are the intangibles that you can't read on a stat sheet. You can't do by looking at a video. But you can do some background checking. You can do some cross-referencing. And not necessarily the coach that they're playing for, but the coaches that they've played against. Hey, we're looking at this player from XYZ. I know you guys play them 2-4 times a year. Just from an opposing coach's point of view, how do you characterize this guy? Maybe you have a little determined questionnaire that you would ask. Not too many, maybe 5 to 10 questions, and you do a measuring scale, maybe 1 to 5, and then you then tally them up, or 1 to 10, however you see fit, and then do some cross-referencing that way. These are some creative ways of recruiting, and I do know and understand that if I'm going to be recruiting, I know that the NCAA just recently went, the guys could have up to 48 guys on the roster, but now they've reduced that back down to 35 because of the COVID challenges, this, that, and the other. So if I got 35 guys who can be on my roster, I would love, in an ideal world, to have 20 of those guys be pitchers. Now, out of those 20 pitchers, I am not expecting to have 10 that can go 9 each and every time they step out. That's not a reality. You're fortunate that out of the 20 players, if you had 3 guys on that caliber, and I would have to say the max 2. If you got 2 guys that can give you quality start 9 out of 10 times, 8 out of 10 times, because there's going to be some days you just don't have it. But if you got some guys that can give you those quality starts in such a time as that, I can put together my creation of a 4-1 pitching staff, 3-1 pitching staff. Each guy's assigned a certain amount of pitches. This is what your assignment is. This is the flow of the batting order that you're going to be faced with. And come rain, sleet, snow, or shine, at that said pitch count, we're pulling you. I don't care if you are looking good, you're feeling strong. This is your cutoff. This is your exit. This is where we're going to jump off the board right here. Build that and condition that. That way you're going to have guys that are going to be mentally ready to be involved in the game, because trust me, sometimes pitchers, and I said it many in my playing day, pitchers are so unique, they're goofy, and they're offbeat that these guys' minds are everywhere. So, like I said, I let 35-man roster. If I got 20 of those guys that can throw, that gives me another 15 position ball players. And that's where you mix and match. You don't, at least I don't, think that you should just focus on a guy. He says, all I play is second base. No. You're going to have to be a middle infielder, second, short. You're going to have to be able to give me some diversity. And if you play second base, you're going to have to be able to play a little outfield. Same goes through for shortstop. Yes, my shortstop should be athletic, but guess what? Shortstop, you might have to play a little bit of third. And guess what? You might have to play a little bit of first. Same thing goes for my third baseman. My third baseman needs to be able to flip around and play first base, and if not, be a catcher to help me in those dog days of summer. And the same goes for my catcher. My catcher got to be able to play both corners, third or first base, and even a little bit of outfield. And that way you can mix and match and have diversity and depth to go ahead and give you what needs to be done. I'm making a note right now. I forget which team the young man played on, but if he wasn't pitching, he was playing first base. And we got to get out of that mindset. We can't have specialists on collegiate level, in particular on the FCS, mid-major, however you want to identify it. If the guy can play, find a way to keep a bat in his hand, find a way to keep a glove on his hand. If he's exclusively a DHer, let him hit. If he can play infield and outfield and pitch, find a place to put them. But you got to have some diversity. You got to have that creative juice flowing to give yourself the chance. I truly, truly, truly believe that the bridge and the barrier can be destroyed in baseball, but we have to stop operating the way they tell us we should be operating. And I say that you're going to have to take your unique situation and create a unique solution to help you stay in the game. It can be done, and I'm hoping that I'm around to see it be done soon and very soon. Hey, I want to remind you guys that we come to you each and every day here at the Open Mic Broadcast Network with the Mike Prince Show Monday through Friday, The Zone on Saturdays, and we have the Temple of Refuge Sunday morning sermons on Sunday mornings, of course, and we have our Bible studies on Tuesdays and Thursdays. You are more than welcome to join us on any of the programs that we offer up. We are so excited about what we're having come to you for the fall. We're going to have volleyball, soccer, football coverage, high school and collegiate, and we're just having so much fun getting all this thing together. We're going to be introducing to you guys some new personalities to be a part of the network, and we just can't wait to see how you guys respond to the people that we're bringing on board here at the Open Mic Broadcast Network. But we need you to do us a favor. September 1st will be our annual start of our listening partner campaign. Now, we go from September 1st to September 30th each year, and we're asking those who can and would to join us by making a donation of $60 to help us with our operational expenses and the cost of doing everything that needs to be done here at the Open Mic Broadcast Network, that we can give you quality programming. Now, that comes out to 17 cents a day, $5 a month. It's that simple. And I'm hearing you right now. I don't have that. Well, whatever you could afford to help our cause would be greatly appreciated. Now, you can do this by visiting the website at obnradio.com. On that website, you have the Open Mic Broadcast Network section. You'll see the donation support button. You can click on that button, and just like that, you become a listening partner. So be sure to earmark that calendar, September 1st. That is the day before the Labor Day Classic, where the Panthers and the Tigers will do together. Panthers going for 9 in a row. Hopefully they can get it done. It'll be in Houston this year, but it doesn't matter. Houston, Prairie View, and the older folks will appreciate when I say this, in a telephone booth. Let's get it on. And speaking of getting it on, I have come to this part of the show where I must exit stage left. It is always an awesome joy and pleasure to present to you guys and introduce to others the things and the tidbits that we find of interest and newsworthy for Southwestern athletic coverage and NCAA coverage, to be more precise. We do not focus on the pros because the pros have the pros, and we have our college, high school, local, and regional coverage. And as I stated at the top of today's episode, there's plenty of room at the table. You might be one of those that are listening right now thinking, hey, man, I would love to be able to be a part of something like that. We have an opportunity for you. We put together, of course, some teaching diagrams and some one-on-one coachable moments that can help you break into this business, regardless of the area that you're in. It could be rural America. It could be deeper in one of the biggest cities in the country. Doesn't matter. There's room at the table for you, and we would love to help you get it off the ground. If this is something of interest to you, all you have to do is reach out to me by way of email at ombnetwork@gmail.com, or you can send me a direct message by way of Twitter at The Mike Prince Show. I've got to go. My time is far spent for right now. We do thank you guys. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel at the Open Mic Broadcast Network. Hit that bell notification. You'll get every episode that's produced here by the network. Don't forget, we also have that 24-hour stream on the website, obnradio.com. Check out everything that's going on throughout the world of HBCU sports. I am the radio guy, Dr. Mike Prince. Thank you guys again. So until the next time, you guys be blessed, and we'll see you on the other side.